All right, I'm going straight back to the chat room on this one. I apologize. It's House Sparks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Good Lord. Okay, it's the wind. I thought it was the cat. Welcome. I'm House Sparks, and I'll be House Sparksing the rest of the evening. Boy, did at least the stock market corrected itself. You can count on that one thing. Is there a latency thing? You hate AI tunes? I think by the way, I don't use AI tunes. I use AI jingles because I don't have the finances or the wherewithal to annoy real singers with my stupid jingle ideas. So, just saying. Yeah, so let's, let's see, kind of like, update the, yeah, here's the live ticker. We'll open up the live ticker, which is pretty dead now, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it was a fucking rough one today. 2,200 points, lost 1,500 points, 1,600 points yesterday, down 5% today. 38,314. I gotta say, when I said, what do you think, guys? How long will it take? What do you think the number is? 38,000? I thought that was at least a couple of days off. Now I'm thinking 36,000 is easily within range. And, after market trading through the weekend, futures will take a big chunk out of it. And then Monday, it'll be like a fucking ripcord. Because there is no rhyme or reason to any of it. So it's not like somebody's going to fucking figure out the whatever his formula is, which we showed earlier, which is bullshit. Literally, the formula they used, allegedly, they used AI. I wouldn't even say, they used Grok. They fucking grokked it. That's why it's so fucked up. They grokked it up. I think that should become the new kind of insulting way for half-assing things. You grokked it, didn't you? Yeah. All right, you're fired, Tompkins. Clean out your desk. Actually, have someone else clean out your desk because you'll probably burn the place down. You grokked it up, you bastard. If you're on Instagram, say hi. Write something in the chat so I know you're there. And same thing with Substack. We're new in the neighborhood, and it really helps us to goose that algorithm. And if you're on the sacred, hallowed grounds of YouTube, where we desperately need you to be, where are you from? What do you do for a living? Give me a hello in the chat room and all that kind of stuff. And I'm still trying to do a show today with the weight of Trump golfing during the dignified transfers on my head. I brought this up during the campaign a few times, and that there were 92 dignified transfers during Trump's first term, and he went to 4 of them. MAGA. Yeah, maggots. Come here. I know there's a couple of trolly, maggoty Rumble. The one person on Rumble that's watching. Hey, maggot, explain to me how your anger at Joe Biden allegedly looking at his watch at one of the transfers when he went to all of them, and the fact that Trump ditched out after the 4th one because one of the parents was mean to him and he never went back. He didn't go to these. He was golfing during them. These 4 soldiers apparently bearing the brunt of his brutalized ego from 2017. Explain yourselves. Then you can explain how long it would take you to figure out Epstein's a pedophile. And then you could explain to me how you trust a guy's tariff plans when he managed to be the only fucking person in the world to bankrupt a casino. Multiple casinos. For real. Good Lord. So Biden went to the beach once, right? So obviously, there's a lot to cover. Some of the most ridiculous parts are, and I'll show you this. Hold on. Yeah. I don't know why this is quality programming. Maybe if I reload the page, it'll come back up on its. Nope. Okay. Never mind. Quality programming over at Tucker Carlson's media network. I find it ironic. I think somebody in the booth there hates him, so they put up his least favorite color. And This is Scott Bessent on Tucker Carlson's little gaggle or whatever the fuck, which, by the way, is getting shit numbers. I got to tell you, when I'm in your ballpark and I'm doing this out of, a little like grandma ensuite mini office bedroom thing where you could put a twin bed that has a turlet, and you're in,
Mr. Secretary, thank you.
I think in Versailles. No, they're at the Capitol. Then I'm thinking, were they at the Treasury? Did you bring them into the Treasury? I think you got a lot of work to do. I will compliment them on one thing: actually having a table between two grown men sitting in chairs. I don't know what the fuck it is with Trump. I guess he just doesn't. Maybe he's just afraid people are just like under the table, just secretly giving him the finger. You know what I mean? Maybe that's it. I still don't get it, like every fucking time. So, Mr. Secretary, thank you very much
for joining us. So we're at the Treasury Department. The President had
You're welcome.
Conference yesterday next door, in which he announced a whole new tariff regime, global. He'd been promising to do this, well, for 40 years, really.
No, he wasn't promising to do it for 40 years. He was bemusing on the concept like an asshole for a long time, and he doesn't get. I mean, and his fucking buildings are built with Chinese steel. It was always a lie. He was basically like giving maggots an Americana hand job the whole time.
Came not out of nowhere, but it was clearly his intent all along.
It came not out of nowhere. What the fuck?
As stated, but it did rattle people, including some of his supporters. So I just wanted to ask you, big picture.
Is there a big picture?
I think this leads.
Well, Tucker, and
good God. What time do they close the casket? Look, Bessent, I get you want even skin tone on I was going to say TV, but on YouTube. But there's a line and you crossed it. I don't know what the fuck. What kind of, did you stop by like a doll painting shop?
thank you for having me. And as you said, the president's been talking about this for 4 decades.
Yes.
And this is transformational for the American economy, for the American work.
So would communism. Right. You know what I mean? I don't know. Us all going on a barter system would be transformational. That's not good. I guess you would want it to be accelerational.
And for the new Republican alignment.
What the fuck is that? Is that the Timu version of the New World Order?
And it's
the new Republican alignment. Oh, I know what you mean. Where they finally take all of their family values horseshit and Christianity sales pitches they were doing for years and stuff them up their own ass by lining up behind an adjudicated rapist and thrice married adulterer with multitude of failed businesses who thinks raising babies is women's work. Like that?
Combination of the old and new ideas. Some of the old ideas were put away. I always tell everyone, and they don't want to hear it, the original tariff man was Alexander Hamilton.
Yes.
And he used...
Yes. Originally, because we were barely a fucking country. He didn't have a lot of options. They didn't have a sort of debit system to keep track of sales tax. Jesus Christ. They didn't have fucking registers. Oh, God. The reason he was the original tariff man is because you had enough people to sit at ports and look through shipments and charge people in a way that you couldn't for sales tax anywhere, or you couldn't for income tax, because who the fuck knows what anybody makes in the wilds of Oklahoma near the Comancheria? The fuck? You know who was the original tariff guy? Noah. He was like, "Well, you said me 2 of everything, and I'll send you 2 of everything back in 40 days or so."
To fund the new nation and to protect American industry.
Because it was the only way they had available to them. It wasn't the best way. It wasn't the optimal way. It was the only way. And also, I don't know if you know this, but the Revolutionary War kind of kicked off because of taxation that the king was doing. So it really wouldn't have gone over well if they had attempted in this brand new country to start using regular order taxes to pay for everything. That kind of, so tariffing was.
Trump has added a third leg to the stool, and he uses tariffs to negotiate.
Yes.
But I think.
What the fuck? First of all, we've always used tariffs to negotiate, or the potential for tariffs to negotiate, or we bring down our tariffs in a trade agreement, which involves, I don't know, fucking negotiation. Jesus Christ. What is this nodding motherfucker doing? Has he just, like, thrown out the window the entire illusion of him being one of the dark web intellectuals of the right?
This is not unlike, I was a freshman in college when Ronald
I's a freshman in college. Uh-oh, someone's code switching because he knows who he's sitting across from.
Reagan came in 1980, and new day in America. And when I talk to people now, and they look back and they look at the Reagan years so fondly.
Yes.
No, they don't. That means you're only talking to the kind of people who would look back at the Reagan years fondly. Sycophantic Republicans. You nutcase. He had a big dumb idea as soon as he came in too, and he nearly crashed the economy, and they just undid it.
I remember what it was like, and it was choppy. And the president...
Very choppy.
Very choppy. President Reagan...
I slow down all this technical mumbo jumbo.
Stood the course. And look, this is not an invitation, but at one point in the early 80s, a farmer showed up with a shotgun at the Federal Reserve to kill Paul Volcker for raising rates. So, like I said, that's not an invitation for anybody for action.
Of course not. Yes, I understand. Yeah, yes. I don't think you'd recommend that someone show up with a shotgun to kill you. First of all, fuck Paul Volcker and his nonsense. These Volckerites hide behind his concepts about monetary inflation to like go against debt that was occurred not because of financial easing out of nowhere, but out of a necessity when the economy was cratering because of a fucking pandemic or the 2008 crash or after 9/11. Jesus.
But it was a tough time. And then in 1984, President Reagan won re-election with 49 states. And I think they may have even let Mondale win Minnesota just so it wasn't a skunk.
Just to be nice, yeah.
And that's what President Trump is doing now. For years, the American worker middle class has been eviscerated. American workers have taken it on the chin. And, we're just starting to see some of the research now. Like we're seeing.
Okay. The middle class has not been eviscerated. Over the course of since the beginning of NAFTA, where the factory jobs really started to go overseas, the information jobs and the tech jobs and the like administrative jobs and the fucking insurance and all that kind of stuff have backfilled that middle class at a higher rate. They actually make more than adjusted manufacturing, just line workers would have made in the 90s and early 2000. So let's start there. Secondly, we have double the amount of manufacturing in the country now than we had in the 90s. There was the single biggest reshoring during the Biden years, but we still do $2.4 trillion worth of manufacturing in the United States. We did like 1.7 back then. The only reason it looks like it's gone down because it's gone down as share of GDP, because a lot of other shit has moved in its place.
Research on what's called the China shock from 2004. It's just coming out now, and it's what you know, it's what I know, but finally academics are saying, oh, the American workers never recovered from the China shock. What a surprise. And President Trump sensed it 40 years ago.
No, a certain class of workers had their job shipped overseas. That was the problem that most of us were trying to remedy from NAFTA for a long time. Trump didn't with USMCA. It didn't do shit in those USMCA. NAFTA allowed for, and they weren't even expecting it, I don't think. They didn't think that was an option back then, because remember, this is the mid-90s. They didn't think these jobs were going to go through Mexico and out to China, and then there'd be this alignment of production, China to Mexico, that would use and take advantage of NAFTA, and then factories would just go fucking everywhere. Corporations moved their factories overseas where labor was cheap, and we had trade agreements so that they could just bring the goods back and forth. And the American consumer base grew inexorably because of the availability of those goods and the cheapness of those goods. That's what happened. The U.S. economy continued to grow. We have wealth disparity. But even with that wealth disparity, our poor are better off than any of these labor countries that we take advantage of. This is more, well, it's just like this oversimplification stuff. He's doing campaign talk to try and excuse the fact that Trump doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. It's like he has to throw a match because it's all so crazy.
Out on the campaign trail starting in 2015 up until last year, he has promised the American workers that the old standard of living can come back. And because what we've seen over the past at least 20
yes, the old standard of living, when we didn't have central air and satellite radio and standard issue cars and GPS, the old days. Everybody, he wants a pot in every kettle and mercury in the seams of every kettle. It'll all work out. Hold on, I'm moving this over here so I can see you guys. Fucking hell.
Since the China shock, but more like the past 30.
Oh, Groove Dragon, hold on. Groove Dragon's asking a very important question. Where do you get a 3D printer deal? First of all, the first 3D printer I built myself. It's true. And it was like $125 and it sucked. And the nice one, the MakerBot, which was like $2,500 and had like these features like an auto leveling heated bed and all that kind of stuff. You can get one of those for $200 now. Like, again, the fall off technology is so much better that people don't even know. Like, the availability of shit. And I always feel, when I start talking about this, I always feel like a grandfather who's like, when I was a boy, our game controllers had one stick and one button. None of this grippity gravity gloobity doo with 5 buttons and a wiggly dop, and you could turn. You had a camera and a visual thing, and then you could recenter yourself with a hotkey and all that. And we had one stick and one button, and we were happy, But literally, like the second tier stuff is fucking amazing. Did I use the 3D printer to build my 3D printer? No, I did use it to make additional parts for it. That's one of the big things. Everybody buys a 3D printer, and then it has a little spindle on the back so you can hold the filament, the little plastic shit that goes on the back. And then what you do is you print the first time a better filament holder. And yes, you can build a 3D printer almost entirely with another 3D printer. But anyways, we move on. I could get too nerdy. You're going to distract me, and I'm just so I know what you're trying to do, chat room. You're trying to make sure that I don't get upset with this dickhead, and it's not going to work.
These massive distributional problems where the coasts have done great.
Yes.
And the middle of the country they have just seen quality of the life expectancy decline. They don't think their children are going to do better than they are.
Okay, real quick. Middle of the country, investment availability of goods. As somebody who grew up in a little fucking podunk town, there are all these towns he's talking about in the middle of America have fucking malls and Starbucks and the availability, there are no food deserts like people talk about in like some urban centers. They're out in these places. It's a long drive because you want it to be a long drive. You're living in the sticks for a fucking reason. And their life expectancy has not gone down because of the expense of the quality of life. It's the availability of calories has never been fucking cheaper in the history of fucking planet Earth. And a lot of the people in the Midwest are not dying because they starve to death. They are dying for the exact opposite reason. So this idea that they got passed by and they've been shredded by life, like the evil coastal elites refuse to, give them, or have this like let them eat cake attitude with fucking Arkansas. It's the other way around. You know what I mean? Like that, like Arkansas and all these middle states, like look with derision at the states like on the coast that keep them afloat, that make them financially viable. Yes, calories, not quality. I completely agree. But you get my point. And like, say what you will about like cheap, like Chinese crap at Walmart, but the availability of goods has never been cheaper or more available to all of these people in their whole fucking lives. So this idea that like, and again, what he's saying really even doesn't have much to do with the middle of the country, because that's not who we're talking really like bordering Eastern states that are really the ones that push for Trumpism, which is like Mississippi and places like and Alabama and then the Carolinas and shit like that, Florida, which are whatever. I know these assholes think they're the South. It's so stupid.
And a lot of people don't care. And President Trump cares.
Fuck you.
This administration cares. And this is the first step towards realigning that. A lot of our trading partners, including some of our allies, have not been good partners. If tariffs are so bad, why do they have them?
Well, they don't have them blanket. They have them on specific goods to protect their local industries so that if the world collapses and there's another COVID outbreak or something, they or equivalent, they have the ability to keep their society moving along. They don't have just like a fuck America tariff. And if they did, we wouldn't do business with them.
Question.
Why do they have them? Right? Or if the American consumer is going to pay all the tariff, then why do they care about tariff?
Right.
Because we'll buy less. It's an excellent freeze frame for what we're watching here.
Hello there.
Like, for fuck's sake, that's why. If the price goes up, the biggest consumer base in the world will stop buying them. They'll buy fewer things, and that will impact their economy. That's why. If you like tariffs so much, why keep hitting yourself? Gee, what the fuck? And the idea that he was supposed to be the smart one. Fuck me.
Because they're going to eat them. So, I think that this
No, they're not.
is the beginning of a process. We're going to reindustrialize that.
Why? What? Okay. If we reindustrialize, does anyone think that the factories that they build here will be full of people working on an assembly line, making a decent living? Is that what you think these factories are going to be like? You think they're going to be like fucking Lucille Ball, doing Vitamita Vegemin and fucking chocolates?
Gone to a highly financialized economy. We have stopped making things, especially a lot of things that are relevant for national security.
Yeah, that's why we passed the CHIPS Act, dipshit.
I think one of the few good outcomes from COVID was we had a beta test for what maybe a kinetic war with a large adversary could look like.
Oh, I think that's what I was thinking. I was like, what silver lining? What silver lining could there possibly be to COVID? Well, it's kind of a good beta test for what it would be like to have an all-out kinetic war with a giant superpower. That's exactly what I thought. Instead of maybe there isn't a silver lining. We just can have a post-mortem and see what we fucked up and what we did right and what we could do better.
And it turned out that these highly efficient supply chains were not strategically secure. So that we don't make our own medicines, that we don't make our own semiconductors.
All Biden, all Biden.
We don't make our own ships anymore.
We do make our own ships. We just don't make as many as the Chinese because we expect ours to be floating for more than 10 years.
So I think if I were to say, like, was there any good outcome from COVID? It was
Jesus. Why?
Woke the world up to these supply chain problems. So economic security is national security. President Trump and I have talked about that a lot. So this is a national security issue that.
So it is a trade war. Fine.
Seeing here, but it's also an economic security issue, and it's to. I don't want
to. I don't want to say redistribute.
Redistribute, but it is to give working Americans real wage gains and enhance their lives. And I've said out on the campaign trail,
yeah, that's not what happens when a billion-dollar company makes a new factory. It's not going. You're not going to see a bunch of people in trailer parks all over fucking Oklahoma suddenly like shackles falling off their hands and walking out of a cave into the sunlight into their new factory jobs because they've been held back since 1984.
My most frequent mottos was Wall Street's done great. It can continue doing well, but it's Main Street's turn. It's Main Street's turn.
Look, I understand your flippant little turn of phrase, but it sounds a lot like this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you.
And that's what we saw yesterday.
No, it isn't.
It's Main Street's turn.
No, it isn't. No, the collapse of the Dow does not automatically backfill into Main Street. Like, oh, they took we lost $6 trillion on Wall Street, and it just was like, like, does anybody check like streets CCTV cams to see the cash just rolling down the streets in the Midwest?
So
that's dumb.
Course of my life, 55 years, Wall Street really has been the commonly recognized measure of economic health. Like, how's the Dow doing? We've got entire TV channels devoted to tracking its progress, which has mostly been up during the course of my life. So,
yeah, so I don't really think about it. They're born rich.
If the average of the equity averages fall, if the stock market falls, that's seen by a lot of people as like a measure that the economy itself is in decline. Do you think that's a fair measure?
Look, the market goes up and down. Warren.
Yeah, shit happens.
Buffett has a saying: in the short run, the
market's a voting machine, and in the long run, it's a weights and measures.
It's a voting machine. In the long run, it's a weighing machine, and in the long run, it's going to weigh: do we have good policies?
Yes.
And
right. And welcome to Trust Me, Bro.
In my former business, I commented on market structure, market ups and downs a lot. I'm trying not to do that.
Yes.
But for everyone who thinks that these market declines are all based on the president's economic policies, I can tell you that this market decline started with the Chinese AI announcement of DeepSeek.
Right.
So
No, not right. Wait a fucking second. No, not right. You asshole. Holy shit. Hold on. Holy shit. Dow Jones index today. Let's go back to this. Yeah. So here's this is where'd it go? Right here. This is when it opened at 41,735. This was on and he's talking about up here. He's talking here's, by the way, it went 1129. It went up on this idea that Trump was bullshitting about the tariffs, and then he kept talking about it, and it went down, and then they forgot about it, and then it came back up, and it went to 44,882. And they said this is where DeepSeek got introduced, and oh dear, it started to fall. And this is 2/21/2025. Hold on one second. Let's see. It was. I don't know what I went the old. Okay. Yeah. So January 31st was DeepSeek. So this is. Here's DeepSeek. Like DeepSeek was unveiled on January 31st. It didn't do shit for. We go all the way to February 20th. That's when you see the first big drop. Then we see this other drop. And then it kind of recovers a little bit. And then Trump announces this thing. And yeah, there it is. And then this is what you get. That, hey, asshole, that's not the DeepSeek launch right there. That is fucking, what, 4:59 p.m. on the 2nd. That's an hour after, that's the after hours trading was so fucking big. It made that a percentage drop anyways. 4.2, ba-boom. Then 4.3, ba-boom. 4.4, cadaver. That's not DeepSeek, you dumb motherfucker. This is where it was with DeepSeek. It was like, all right, we'll check this out. Maybe we'll readjust our sales. I don't know. This is a fucking, that is a cliff. What a dick. Jesus Christ. Hold on. Where am I? Is it on here? Hold on. Ugh. Oh, there he is. Just a parade of fucking terrible people today.
So-called Mag 7, the tech stocks, had been doing very well for about 18 months, led the market. And I think that there was kind of a real dose of reality in what was going on in AI. And I think U.S. is going to remain the leader in AI, but the AI...
Why don't you explain to us why and the depth of your understanding of AI right now, because you're doing such a great job with economics that I feel like, you know, we're all winners.
You stay classy, San Diego.
Oh, hello there. I love lamp.
Right. This motherfucker.
Its stocks started coming down. So, like, if I were to analyze...
No, those stocks adjusted, but they didn't come down. Not like this.
My old hat, and this is the only time I'm going to talk about it, my old hat, what's happening with the market, I'd say it's more a Mag 7 problem and not a MAGA problem.
Fuck you. What are you, what? Come on. I look, there's trying too hard, and there's this.
So it's a deeper, so actually the markets are, you're saying in this specific case with tech stocks, are taking like a real measure of the value of companies relative to foreign companies.
Well, it's that, but if we look, the equal weighted S&P, even after today's move, down 4% in the year. Or, you know, in a long-term chart, you wouldn't even notice that.
Yeah.
And I think...
Yeah, no, we wouldn't even notice that.
Most important thing that we can do, that I can do as the Treasury Secretary, that President Trump wants to do, is put in...
Yeah, because every president applauds a 4% drop in their first year as soon as they take office.
Sound fundamentals for the underlying economy. And if the underlying economy is good, if taxes are stable, if businesses have predictability,
which none of those things are true.
We have cheap and plentiful energy. If we deregulate,
Again, can we be a little more specific about this deregulation shit? Because I'm not really interested in mercury and candy bars.
Treat our workforce well, then we're going to have a great stock market.
Why? Sorry. If HR reports good worker satisfaction, that's going to affect the bottom line of any fucking company.
The president,
especially when they're afraid that if they lose a job, they won't be able to find another one. Maybe that's it. Maybe if we treat our workers right, which is make sure they can't afford to quit.
Suggested in describing his plan for tariffs, he said, look, you could conceivably fund a lot of government with tariffs. And that would suggest that taxpayers fund less of the burden. And so do you expect that these will be accompanied by a
Hey, real quick. Taxpayers do fund that government. It's just a regressive tax so that the poorer people pay for more of the government than they are right now. This is the rich moving the tax burden from them to you. That's what this is. Tariffs make it so that the price of goods go up, the kind of shit you assholes, import your fucking IKEA furniture and your Lee Kum Kee sauce that you need to have on stuff. And, and you assholes, you should pay, we're going to nickel and dime everybody on the prices of everything so that we, the rich, don't have to pay for shit. That's what this is. It's shifting the tax burden to the lower classes and to the poor. That's what it's for.
Improved tax cut for the middle class.
Tucker, I just want to go back for a moment, too, that one of the things
that one of our plans is, listen to this. You're going to love it. What? Okay. So, Tuck, listen, what we're going to do is give the middle class a tax cut, and then we're going to make them think that they're going to be doing better for a little bit, and then the tariffs are slowly going to catch in, and it's going to be a long while before they realize they'll come to the realization, but we'll be out of here by then, that they're actually paying more for goods, and those tariff costs for those goods are ending up to be a higher tax on them than the taxes they were paying before the tax cut. You see how that works? It's fucking brilliant. We sit around sometimes and just oil ourselves up and discuss this in a baby pool in the middle of the Situation Room, and it's just glorious. So what we'll do is we give you a tax cut, and then you pay those taxes through the price of general goods, and you pay more taxes in the end, and you do it when you need it the most, which is at the point of sale. So you really don't you can't get out of it. You just have live with less, and then that of course raises the chances that people, give up on their dreams or do themselves in and stuff. And that lowers the competition rate for people like you and me, Tuck.
Tariffs are doing is we are pushing back against other economic systems. So the Chinese have a very different economic system.
Yes, it's called communism. I'll remember it later.
They have low cost. Some would call it literally slave labor. They subsidize industry with subsidized loans. They have a lot of non-tariff barriers. Your show can't be shown there.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a trade barrier. Yeah, that's a propaganda thing, stupid. And also, they still have some taste left.
So we're pushing back against.
By the way, I don't know why it couldn't be shown there. They would love its anti-American sentiment and its fuck you to the middle class in America bent.
That. And with the tariff income, it can be substantial. And if we think like a classical model of tariff income would say,
Classical model.
There's a 10% tariff. Then the currency would appreciate about 40% of that, so 4% of it. Then the producer in the other country would eat about 4%. And then the U.S. consumer might have a one-time price adjustment of 2%. So, in a 10% tariff, maybe the consumer pays 2% of it. We saw there's a study out recently from.
So the idea is that you put a 34% tariff on China, so the American consumer would pay 3.4% more for all Chinese goods. Hard money. Best case scenario. What happens when that applies to multiple units within a device? What does that add to that? That's another sales tax on top of the consumer absorbs another. Hey, let me just flatten it out. What if this asshole came out and said, we're going to fund the government with a 3.4% sales tax on everything from, that comes in from China on you. You buy anything that was made in China, there's an extra 3.4% sales tax on top of that. How do you think that would go over? Because that's what he's saying. I'm going easy on him. Yeah, I was doing the half. I'm being kind. Yeah, 6% using his math. Absolutely. So close to 7, 6, 6, 8. But let's cut it in half. I was doing the stupid cut in half part. So imagine if Trump came out and said, we're just going to put a tax on all consumer goods of 5% to pay for the government. How do you think that would go over? Terry says, fine if you eliminate the income tax. No, it's not. You would pay a lot more than you pay in income tax. A lot more. And, what you'll do is you'll put the burden of it on the consumer at the lowest end of the spectrum, because everything they buy is the cheap stuff. Every transaction, every dollar store item would be a $1.30 instantly. And go back to all that shit that they talk about, like a nickel rise in gas prices destroys America, right? Remember that shit?
Group at MIT that shows that with President Trump's first China tariffs, which were approximately 20%, the price level went up 0.7. So to answer,
that's because they weren't on everything. Oh my fucking God. They weren't across the board on all Chinese goods. As a matter of fact, he had a couple of very specific carve-outs. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah. You know how I know? Motherfucker. You know how I know that it wasn't an across-the-board tariff? Because he carved out Ivanka's merch, the shit she was selling. And the reason it's 0.7% is because it's only on a few industries across a myriad of industries. But if you were buying those particular things, it wasn't 0.7%, was it? What an asshole. Okay, anyways, we got plenty of bullshit to go around today, no doubt. By the way, and you're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe. I would let's go from the sublime to the insidious, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hal Sparks, and I'll be Hal Sparksing the rest of the evening. Hit that like, share the show, annoy the maggot in your neighborhood by letting them know that you watch this show. And can I just say real quick on a side note, I'm so busy often doing the show that I don't have time for the other ancillary social media stuff that I used to do. I used to spend a lot more time online before I was doing this show. I really do. I'm there in fits and starts these days, but I can't be on as much because I'm too busy reading, watching, studying. Like, yeah. So I just don't have time for it. Excuse me. I don't have time for it. And but on Blue Sky, I'll occasionally see the lovely folks that post clips from the show on Blue Sky. Thank you guys so much for doing that. Like, I see it, and you'll see I fleek them or whatever on Blue Sky and other places. I'll repost them on there, and I want you to know I'm very grateful that you do that. And I wish I had more time where I could sit there and write something that expresses that, but that if I start, I won't stop because that's how my brain works. So I have to just go boink and go thank you and then move on. So it means a lot. Like it's very heartwarming when I see that. Just say it if it's okay. I just wanted to make that moment. Just say that moment and all of us.